Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a 3D animated pin using only HTML and CSS. So this is a card. When I hover over it, you can see there is a title. A line is going from the title to the middle of the card and there is some ripple effect. So this is what is happening. A card, when I hover over it, a title is popping up with a line and there is some ripple effect going on. So this is what we are going to build today. So let's start. I have taken three files: index HTML, styles CSS and script.js. First, I'm going to write the HTML. I'm going to name it. The title is going to be 3D animated pin, and before that, let me link the CSS. In my case, that is style CSS, and I will use the JavaScript. So let's link the JavaScript as well. Source is going to be script.js. Now let me open that up in a live terminal. I have opened that up in the live terminal, and let me hide the sidebar, Control P. So I'll have the basic skeleton now. First, let's take a div, and I'm going to call it, give it a class, container, and another div with a class, pin container. And inside this, I'm going to take an anchor tag with class, pin link, and ID pin link. And it is going to be anchor tag. So there should be an href. Href is going to be uh, anything, HTTP something, whatever. And then I'm going to take another div. Let me end this. And inside the pin container, I'm going to take the div and I'm going to name it a class of pin perspective dot perspective. Okay. Inside that, I'm going to take pin content, and inside that, I'm going to take pin body h3 3D animated pin. When you hover over the card to see the magic. Okay. Now, inside this, let's take another class. I'll call it gradient box. Nothing in there. And then I'm going to take ripple container. Ripple container. And inside this, I'm going to take ripple. And I'll copy paste this 3 times. Shift Alt down arrow. Shift Alt down arrow. So now it's done. I'm going to close it. Close the pin perspective. And let's see. The pin container. Inside that pin container, A, and then perspective, and then div. Okay. So I'm going to take a title, pin title, and say the coder next door, another div with a class called connecting line. So the A tag is going to stop here. Okay, everything looks good. Now we are ready to go to the CSS part. For CSS, start with body. I don't need any margin. Margin 0, padding 0, font family, Arial, and sans serif. Then background color is going to be RGB 129, 198, 207, and then the color of the text is going to be white, FFF. The container height will be 100 view height. Display will be flex. Justify content center. Items, align items to the center. Great. Now let's move on to the pin container. Position, relative, z index, z index will be 50. Cursor, pointer. Okay, cursor pointer. And then I'll move on to the pin link. Text decoration, none. And color, inherit. So it's going to be white. The color is inheriting from the parent. Pin perspective. Let me copy paste the name. In perspective. Perspective 1000 pixel. Transform. Rotate X, and the angle is going to be you rotate at 70 degree. We'll use that later. Don't worry about it now. 0. Position absolute. Left 50%. Top 50%. You can see what is happening on the right. So margin left 1.5 pixel. Margin top 1 rem. Transform. Translate minus 50%, comma, minus 50%. And now I'm going to move to the pin content. Inside the pin perspective, I have the pin content. Pin content, position, absolute to the parent, left 50%, right 50%, and then transform, translate, minus 50%, minus 50%, then rotate 0 degree. If I say rotate 27 degree, see, this is what is happening. So don't rotate right now, rotate to 0 degree. Put it here. Padding, 1 rem. Border radius, 1 rem. Background color is going to be black. Border, 1 pixel solid RGBA, 255, 255, 255, and 0.1 alpha. Box shadow, 0, 8 pixel, 16 pixel RGBA, this, but now it will be 0.4. Okay. Transition, whatever the transition we have, transform. For this, you are going to take 0.7 seconds. Now the pin body, margin 0, padding bottom, 0.5 rem, font size 1 rem, color white. H3, margin 0, padding bottom 0, 0.5 rem, font size 1 rem, color white. Now the P, margin 0, padding 0, font size 1 rem, color this one. Okay, now let's see. So I made a mistake here. In this case, the pin body, it is going to be width 20 rem, height 20 rem, and position will be relative. Okay, now let's move on to the gradient box. Width 100%, height 100%, margin top 1 rem, background linear gradient 2, bottom right, color is going to be 8B 5C F6 F6, and then A855 F7. Okay, now we can see it. Border radius will be 0.5 rem. Okay. Now pin title, position, absolute, top, minus 10 rem, left, 50%, transform, translate X will be minus 50%. Background color is going to be 1A, 1A, 1A. Padding 0.25 rem, 1 rem. Border radius font size, and then font weight, bold, white space, no wrap, opacity 0. I don't want to see it. I want to see it only when I hover it. So right now I don't want to see it. And transition opacity, it will be 0.5 second. Pin container, let me take this and say, when I hover over this pin container, do this to the pin content, transform, translate, minus 50%, minus 50%, rotate 90 degree, and scale 0.8. Okay, this is happening right now. Pin content. When I hover over this pin content, do this to the pin title. Opacity 1. Pin container. Okay, now I can see this. Let's draw the connecting line. My connecting line position will be absolute. Top will be minus 8 rem. The left will be 50%. Width is going to be 2 pixel. Height will be 0. Background will be white. Transition, height, 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 it will be 0.5 second. And then transform, origin, top. So right now we cannot see it. Okay, let's move on to the next. When I hover over this, when I hover over the pin container, then do this to the connecting line, height 8 ram. Because the height was 0, now it should have a height of 8 ram. Okay, now we can see the transition and everything is working. So let's make the ripple container right now. Absolute top 50%, left 50%, transform, translate minus 50%, minus 50%. So it comes to the middle. Width will be 200 pixel. Height will be 200 pixel. Opacity 0. I only want to see this when I hover over it. So opacity right now is 0. Transition opacity 0.3 second is in and out. Pointer events none. Now do the ripple position absolute top 50%, left 50%, transform, translate, translate minus 50%, minus 50%, and then width will be 0, height 0, border radius 50% because I want it to be round. Background color will be RGBA 255, 255, 255, 0.3, and then animation, which I'm going to do it write it right now. Ripple animation, 2 second, linearly, and it will be played infinitely. Now we have few child in the ripple. We have 1, 2, 3 child. Let's do something about them as well. Ripple and child. You take the second child, and animation delay for that second child is going to be animation delay. Second child is going to be 0.5 second. For the animation delay for the third child is going to be 1 second. Now let's do the animation. For the animation, I'm going to write keyframes. The name is Ripple. Name of the animation is Ripple. So this one, I'm going to add 0%. The animation is width is going to be 0. Height is going to be 0. Opacity will be 1. And at 100%, width is going to be 200 pixel. Height is going to be 200 pixel. Opacity will be 0 because I want it to vanish. So when am I going to say it? When I hover over this pin container, When I hover over the pin container, only then I should be able to see the ripple container. Opacity 1. See right now, we can see it happening. Okay. So when I hover over this pin container, the ripple should be width 100 pixel, height 100 pixel, opacity 1. Now it is showing better. So let's fix up everything. Let's do some JavaScript. Document dot add event listener. Let me fix this thing first. Let me cut it up. I made a mistake in here, I think. The width. Okay, I'm going to find it out and show you. So here I have done right. It's not going to be right. It is going to be top 50%. Now it shows better. Okay. Now when I hover over this pin content, where is it? Uh, Translate rotate X 90 degree. See now it is rotating in 90 degree. If I rotate it 70 degree, let's say 45, it is working. If I do it, maybe say 30 degree, 35 degree, it is working better. So I thought we will need JavaScript, but as it turns out, we don't need the JavaScript. Make it 50, 55. So everything is working just fine. That's it. That's the finished product. So let's see how it looks. 3D animated pin, hover over the card to see the magic. So when I hover over it, I can see the ripple effect and everything. We could do this only with HTML and CSS. We didn't need any JavaScript.